In the rolling green hills of Ashford, Tennessee, a tight-knit town of 11,400 nestled between the Cumberland Plateau and the Tennessee River, Dr. Amelia Hart was the doctor every parent trusted with their children. At 36, she was the only pediatrician within 50 miles, running the small but beloved Ashford Family Clinic on Main Street. She had raised her 8-year-old daughter Sophie alone after her husband, a local firefighter, died in a warehouse blaze 5 years earlier. Amelia worked dawn till dusk, treating everything from childhood fevers to the town's most vulnerable kids from low-income families. She never turned away a patient who couldn't pay, stayed late for emergency house calls, and personally drove sick children to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital 2 hours away when needed. The town called her the guardian of Ashford's children. Amelia's routine was as steady as the river current. Every morning she walked Sophie to the little elementary school, stopped for coffee at the same corner diner, and opened the clinic by 7:30 a.m. She knew every child's name, allergy, and favorite cartoon. On the humid evening of September 18, 2018, Amelia finished a late-night shift treating a toddler with croup, picked up Sophie from the sitter, and drove home to their modest white clapboard house on Riverbend Lane. She texted her sister Claire at 9:28 p.m. "Home safe. Sophie's already asleep with her favorite book. Love you both." That was the last anyone ever heard from her. At 7:15 a.m. the next morning, the babysitter arrived to find the front door unlocked, all the lights still on, Amelia's SUV in the driveway, and Sophie asleep in her bed clutching her favorite storybook. But Amelia was gone. Her phone, wallet, keys, and a half-drunk cup of sweet tea sat neatly on the kitchen counter. No forced entry, no signs of struggle. The only thing missing was Amelia herself. Detective Captain Lucas Reed, 48, a 23-year veteran of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation known for his quiet, methodical patience, arrived within the hour. He walked through the house and felt the same instinctive chill every seasoned investigator recognizes. This wasn't a typical missing persons case. She vanished without warning, and everything feels too perfect. The town mobilized immediately. Search parties along the riverbanks, candlelight vigils at the clinic, flyers stapled to every telephone pole and church bulletin board. Amelia's clinic van was found parked normally at the clinic the next day, engine cold. The case was initially treated as a possible runaway or suicide. After 14 months of exhaustive work, dive teams in the river, canine units in the surrounding hills, hundreds of interviews with patients and neighbors, no body, no suspects, no solid leads. The case quietly went cold in late 2019. The chief told the team, "We've done everything humanly possible. Time to move on." The file was boxed and shelved with the words, "Inactive, insufficient evidence," written in red ink. For the next 8 years, Ashford tried to heal. Sophie grew up calling her aunt Mom and believing her real mother had gone to help the angels in heaven. Amelia's sister Claire never stopped searching. She kept a locked cabinet of every tip, every psychic reading, every dead-end lead. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation moved on. Detective Reed was promoted and told his new partner, "Some cases just stay cold. You have to let them rest." But in the shadows, one man never forgot. The town's respected county judge and former clinic board chairman, Judge Victor Lang, 59 years old, silver-haired, the man who had helped organize the initial search parties and delivered the eulogy at Amelia's memorial, had been quietly watching the investigation from the beginning. He comforted the family for years. He presided over charity fundraisers. He even helped fund private investigators. No one ever suspected him. Why would they? He was the guardian of justice in Ashford, right alongside Amelia. Meanwhile, advances in forensic fiber analysis and environmental DNA were changing cold cases across the South. In 2026, a new cold case task force at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation decided to revisit 2018 files. Detective Reed, now 56 and working part-time as a consultant, was reluctantly brought back. "I told them this one was dead, but they wouldn't listen." The task force pulled every evidence bag from the original investigation. In one overlooked item, a single tiny pollen grain caught in the cuff of Amelia's jacket that had been dismissed as common ragweed, the new team ran advanced environmental DNA sequencing in 2026. The result was impossible. The pollen belonged to a rare hybrid tea rose called Rosa Judge's Pride, a cultivar bred and grown in only one private garden in the entire county, the backyard garden of Judge Victor Lang. The detail everyone missed for 8 years was a single microscopic pollen grain that could only have come from the judge's private rose garden, a place Amelia had been investigating for illegal pesticide runoff that was poisoning the local river. Detective Captain Lucas Reed stared at the magnified digital scan for a full minute before speaking. "We almost walked away from this. We almost let him win." The team quietly obtained a warrant for Judge Lang's historic estate. In the basement, behind a false wall he had built during a foundation repair in 2020, they found what no one expected: Amelia's remains, carefully wrapped and buried beneath the concrete floor. Beside the body was a sealed envelope containing a handwritten confession dated September 19, 2018.
The letter was addressed to whoever finds this. In it, Judge Lang admitted everything. He had been secretly involved with Amelia for nearly 3 years while embezzling county funds to cover his failing real estate investments and a hidden gambling debt. When Amelia discovered both the affair and the illegal pesticide dumping he was allowing on his property and threatened to expose him to the state environmental board, he lured her to his estate that night, strangled her in a moment of panic, and hid the body in his basement while the entire town searched for her. For 8 years, he sat on the bench dispensing justice while living with the woman he murdered buried beneath his feet. The most devastating detail? Sophie had learned to read court stories from Lang's children's book club at the library. He had hugged her at every town event and told her, "Your mom would be proud." Detective Reed, who had almost closed the case in 2019, personally arrested Judge Lang at the county courthouse during a routine morning session. The entire town watched in stunned silence as their respected judge was led away in handcuffs. The 2026 trial became national news. Sophie, now 16, took the stand and looked the man who had read her stories directly in the eyes. "You buried my mother under your house while you told me justice always wins." Lang broke down for the first time, sobbing that he had lost control that night. He was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life without parole. The estate was demolished and the property turned into a community garden and memorial for missing persons. This was the investigation that slowly revealed the truth. A missing pediatrician, no body, no leads, a town ready to forget. But 8 years later, because one task force refused to accept the obvious, they found Amelia Hart buried beneath the floor of the man everyone trusted most, all because of one tiny pollen grain that should not have been on her jacket. The discovery changed everything. It proved that the most dangerous monsters can wear judicial robes and sit on the bench dispensing justice. It proved that the smallest overlooked clue, when examined with fresh eyes, can rewrite history. Sophie Hart now runs the Amelia Hart Children's Justice Foundation, helping families of long-term missing persons and fighting illegal environmental crimes. Detective Reed says the case taught him the most important lesson of his career. The truth doesn't shout, it whispers, and you have to be patient enough to listen for years. Ashford is no longer the same town, but because investigators finally saw what everyone missed for 8 long years, Amelia finally came home, and the investigation finally made sense. Some cases stay cold. This one waited patiently on a single pollen grain until the right eyes saw it, and the small clue they finally found changed everything.